What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Kicks and Picks podcast. It is time for the Champions League round of 16, our favorite time of the year. That means a very special episode to preview all 8 of these matchups and also give you our thoughts on the futures. We have brought in a very special guest, frequent contributor to the podcast, Andrew Passaro from the Plus Money Pod, at Andrew Passaro, at the Plus Money Pod, who is knee deep in Champions League with us all season long. This is not our first collab on the Champions League, so appreciate you taking some time out of your day. Looking forward to walking through these games together, giving out some picks, and I think between the three of us, we can give out a future, a Champions League winner. Scotty and I are on a 2-season streak of giving out a European future winner, so no pressure. We're going to try to do it for a third.
So we're giving out Europa Conference winners too, right? And that's what
If you have one, absolutely.
No, I mean, yeah, Aston Villa, but we're just betting all the English teams so that whoever is in 5th place can get into the Champions League.
Yeah. That's right.
I like it. Hey, a lot of English tax in these lines, so I think we'll get to them. So 2 games coming up this week. 4 games coming up this week. 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday. Same format the following week. We are going to try to knock it all out for you today. Starting with the games on Tuesday, RB Leipzig, Real Madrid. Leipzig at home, plus 220. Real, plus 110. The draw is plus 280. And boys, I'm struggling to even just look past Real Madrid money line at plus 110. The form that they have been on has been stellar. They are this podcast team of the Champions League for 2 straight years. Talk me out of it. Is there a better bet than Real Madrid money line? Granted, they're away. Granted, it's 2 legs. What are you guys seeing in this one?
There may be a better bet. I don't know. I don't see it right now, but when we get through the board, then one that might pop up. So I'll call that out if we get to it. But I agree. I think it's impossible to kind of go against Real Madrid in this one. I mean, it helps that Leipzig is at home, but their form, even in the past month or so, has been great. I think they've won 1 of their last 5 in the Bundesliga, so they're not even really cooking at this stage. And like you said, Nick, Real Madrid have been playing well. I think we always tend to ride them during the Champions League because even if they weren't playing, in their tip-top shape, usually they turn it on for Champions League. So getting them at plus money, I get it. They're on the road, but I don't think this is a team that you really have to worry about traveling, poorly. They have the history and the experience to kind of get over any sort of home atmosphere. And, no offense to Leipzig, but they've definitely played in more difficult away fixtures in the Champions League in the past 2 or 3 years. So I don't think they'll be fazed by it. The value is there. And I don't think this is one that you really want to try to second guess yourself too much because you're going to end up talking yourself out of a winning pick.
The only better bet than Real Madrid money line right now is inevitably waiting until Real Madrid go goal down and then taking them for better value.
That's also
fact.
True.
Why make it more complicated? It's Real Madrid money line. Their team total is minus 113 over 1.5, which is good enough for some people. I think I usually like to get team total at a little higher, but I find it hard to believe that Real Madrid don't go back to the Bernabeu with a lead in this one. This is pretty clear cut for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the alternative is that team total because the fact that they just seem to score 2 goals in every single match, whether they're playing from ahead, from behind. I like it. I like it when we're all in agreement. So we won't spend too much more time on this game. I think that's the solid play. We'll stamp that for the pod, and we'll move on to match number 2. And same day, Tuesday, this is FC Copenhagen at home to Man City. Copenhagen, credit to them. I believe they were probably the surprise team of the Champions League to this point. Made it to the second round. This is the most lopsided match from a betting standpoint. They are plus 950 at home. City is minus 380. Is there anything to talk about here, or does City just absolutely steamroll Copenhagen?
I think yes. City will steamroll them, but I do have a fun stat that I looked up. So I don't know how much you guys are watching City week in, week out this year. Not exactly the stout defense that they were last year. They have a lot of games where they're giving up goals, and Look at Copenhagen. They played well in the Champions League. They went toe-to-toe with Galatasaray, went toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich, beat Manchester United. And I looked up all their home games this season. They have played 15 times at home. They have scored in 12 of those games. So I love Manchester City and both teams to score plus 185 in this one. Maybe it's a consolation goal, one for the fans. I still think, Haaland's working himself back to full health. But I do think Man City roll, but I don't think it's crazy to think that Copenhagen can snag a goal in this one at home in front of the home fans. They have now probably paid their salary for like the next 2 years off just this Champions League run.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best place to find value right now. I was looking at, if you are of the type that you think City are going to roll through Copenhagen, and we've made that mistake, I think, on some of our previews, Nick, where we thought that Copenhagen were just enjoying kind of like a lucky streak there, and the results weren't real, but we are obviously wrong. Here they are in the round of 16. If you're still of the belief that you think City are going to run away with this one, I think you can do some things, get a little creative to get decent value, and maybe create like parlays with something else either on Tuesday or Wednesday. So if you really think that City are going to run away with it, City minus 1.5 at minus 120 isn't terrible. If you want to go a little bit more creative and lines that Nick and I like to do, City first half money line is minus 150. You could do a parlay there with Real Madrid and double chance or draw no bet or something like that, and get yourself something that's pretty close to plus money, if not plus money already. That's probably how I would take this one. I would just kind of like mix it in with some of the other plays that I like that are maybe a little chalky.
Yeah, I think you both brought up great points. The first places that I looked were kind of in those both teams to score, because it's not outside of the realm of possibility that Copenhagen get a goal. I think they do. City are still trying to find their form with their full complete squad, or their starting 11, right, as they had planned. So there are going to be some growing pains. The fixture congestion is getting there, right? Like, this is a lot of games for these teams, cups, travel, now Champions League is back. So I did look at both teams to score. That's at plus 110. Both teams to score, no draw, plus 155. But Andrew just gave us a better way to approach that. And if you're kind of scared, you could always do the default, like City and over 2.5. And I think that's at like plus 140. So I think any of those bets are good. We're obviously going to take the plus 185 that Andrew gave us, but Scotty's exactly right. The other way to look at this is 100% to just use City as a parlay piece. Even that minus 380 combined with something else can get you, a solid parlay, something in the plus money realm. So credit to us, because I think we came up with a lot more than I was thinking when we originally just looked at the lineup here in this slate.
And we don't have player prop lines in front of us yet. We're recording this the Friday before. My guess is that you'll see some interesting player prop lines, especially like around a Kevin De Bruyne to score or assist. That'll probably be close to even money, maybe plus 110. So something like that I think would be good, because there's going to be goals in this one, and that's usually where you can kind of cash in on some of those props.
Is this a rivalry game for Haaland because he's Norwegian and they're Danish? Because I'm just saying.
We can
create that storyline
like in Copenhagen.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just if they were international, it would be a big rival game, but we'll see.
Hey, we could do like the Michael Jordan thing, where like he created false storylines in his head, and that used it to motivate himself. Like we'll say that Haaland's going to be motivated. We'll just throw that out on Twitter.
I don't think he needs any motivation at this point. The dude missed the Ballon d'Or to Messi. I think he's got everything he needs. I think that's the equivalent of Michael Jordan getting cut from his JV basketball team. So,
all right, look for Haaland's revenge. Wednesday games, we have Lazio at home to Bayern Munich. Lazio plus 475. Bayern is minus 190. This is just going to be City 2.0. It pains me to say it. I think Lazio did a fantastic job of making it out of their group with Atletico, with Feyenoord. Bayern's way too much for them to handle. They are a complete mess right now. They can't score goals. Not that Bayern's been great, because this is the most inconsistent Bayern that we've seen, I think, over the past couple of years. But I can't imagine they don't come out of this game at the Olympico with a pretty straightforward victory.
Well, if you think that, Nick, I got a line for you.
Hit
One
me.
of your favorite quarter goal lines.
Love it.
Bayern -1.25 is +120. So
I
if you
could
think
get
that
behind
there's no
that.
chance that they're coming out of this with a close game, you could go -1.5 at +155. But as your friend, I know you love to overstate how bad Lazio can be at times. And in the event that they do keep this one close at home, and Bayern maybe aren't necessarily coming to try to throw a knockout punch in the opening match of the round on the road, maybe that's the way to go.
I mean, I'm looking at Bayern -1, which is -120. I think that's the way to go. I think there's a little bit of protection there, but 2 goals for Bayern across this tie do it for them. I feel like Lazio does not score 3 on Bayern Munich. So I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
this is a 2-0 victory coming out of this game.
their
I wish I
team
could.
total over 1.5 is -180. So books love 3+ goals in this for Bayern.
I wish I could wager on Thomas Tuchel not being the manager of Bayern Munich by the end of this tie, because I'm not saying that Lazio get through, but Bayern obviously have a big matchup with Leverkusen this weekend, and if for some reason Bayern don't get through Lazio, I think Tuchel's finito at Bayern Munich.
So the
But-
rule on the podcast, Andrew, is you can't say someone's going to get fired from their job unless you have a name to replace them. So I need to know who is the name to replace Tuchel at Bayern if he gets fired.
Is Jupp
after
Heynckes
this.
still alive? Because I think he's due for like a 4th run at Bayern Munich. He'd probably
Jurgen
figure it
Klopp
out.
should be coming back.
No,
Not
I
Klopp,
don't
excuse
think
me.
so.
Jurgen Klinsmann. I'm sorry, I got my
Oh, okay.
Jurgens
Yeah.
mixed
I
up.
was like,
Just
I
got
don't
knocked
think
out
that.
of just
I
got
don't
knocked out
think
of
he's
the Asia Cup.
available. I don't think he's available. I think he said I'm not stepping down with South Korea, which is
Okay.
classic Jurgen. Can't read the room. But yeah, I this is like the one of this one, and I think Arsenal Porto are the two that I like just could not find anything that I liked in terms of pure value based on the
Yeah.
way like recent performances for teams. Yeah, I don't know. I can't bet on Bayern to show up, and because you'll get like that Augsburg game where they should have won by 3 goals and they lose 1-0 at home. And I respectfully, I don't know what's going on with Lazio. So
Yeah, no, they're a mess. That's what's going on with them. They're not scoring. I think that's really where I'm at. Like I think Bayern, if they play the worst game of their lives, they get a goal in this game. I think Bayern -1 has to be the play in an absence of is there 3 goals in this one? Yeah, well, maybe Bayern could score 3, or maybe they win 2-1, but I don't know. It just, first round ties, not too much history between these teams. It's tough to bank on that, and I think there weren't too many overs. I mean, I think books are looking towards the over in this one, like you said, Scotty, but there weren't too many that I loved throughout this entire slate, and this certainly wasn't one of them. I think this is just a 1 to 2 goal Bayern win. Get out of Dodge, get back home.
1.25 for me. That's my pick. My official pick.
All right. I like it. All right. Next one for this week on Wednesday, PSG at home -160, Real Sociedad +450. Sociedad, the team of the Plus Money podcast, because you rode them handsomely to the first round in the Champions League. A ton of winners, ton of value. They were cruising in Spain for a little bit. The train has started to fall off the tracks a little bit.
no. It's not starting. The train is off the tracks. Like Real Sociedad went from being one of my favorite teams to bet on to no, please stop. Like I need someone to hold me back from putting the bet in every week, because
The
every
reverse Juventus.
Yeah,
for us.
yeah, it's the stripes. I don't know what it is. It's the stripes, but every week I'm like, oh, they should win this game. They have all these pieces. You got Kubo. I love the midfield, and then they play like crap. And 3 straight games of 0-0 for Real Sociedad heading into the weekend, and then you get PSG. I mean, if I'm a Real Sociedad fan, and the fact that hypothetically we're going to get Mbappe to show up at our stadium, but I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. That's still pretty cool. But yeah, they
So,
were.
Andrew, I want your thoughts on it because I have long argued on the podcast that PSG were like super overrated this year. They were coming into that group stage, the group of death. I was trying to get a number on them to not advance in the worst way. They did wind up advancing by the skin of their teeth. It was goal differential, but this is another year for me where, okay, they might win a game. They might win this fixture, right, over two legs, but where's PSG realistically going? I mean, I want to make a case so badly for Sociedad +1, but like you said, they haven't scored a goal in like over a month. So this
Yeah,
this game to me is just really a pass game. I mean, I'm not laying 160 on PSG. I don't care that they're home. There's just nothing for me to take in this one.
I found value for you. As we just said, Real Sociedad can't score goals. Kylian Mbappe picking up an injury midweek in one of the like 8,000 French Cups that they have. Mbappe, by the way, so I was on PSG at the beginning of the season to get out of that group, and I'm just a sucker for big players and big moments because I don't hate Mbappe like I hate Ronaldo. I enjoy watching him on the grand stage. I wouldn't say I'm like an Mbappe stan, but and it's the same thing. I don't hate him because I don't hate Holland. I hate him like I hate Holland because he plays for Manchester City. Like he's just a fun player to watch. I don't have any like skin in the game. I just want to watch a great player in big moments. And so I had money on PSG to get out of that group. Well, I had them to win the group, which obviously missed. That being said, I think it's pretty evident that his tenure at PSG and me being, ambivalent about him is going to end as soon as he signs for Real Madrid. But like I said, Sociedad can't score goals. I don't. There's two things I like. Real Sociedad team total under half a goal is +144, which is yeah, exactly. It's insane value for a team that hasn't scored a goal in 270 plus minutes of soccer. And there's a bunch of games before that they also didn't score. So I don't think that, and like Kubo has been back for a little while now, so I don't think they're going to magically figure it out. I think for some reason they just lost all the steam. And I don't hate PSG and under 3.5 at +125. Like I find it hard not to believe that this is a 1 or 2-0 victory for PSG. And I think you could take the outright 2.5 if Mbappe isn't there.
Yeah.
And I hate this because if you've listened to my podcast or any video, I don't give out unders. Like unders,
none of us do.
Not to be that guy, but unders are against my religion. They go against everything that I believe in and watching and gambling on any sport, let alone this sport. But I can't in good conscience tell you to take anything over 2.5 in this game because I don't think PSG are going to cook Sociedad, and I think Sociedad are going to be, toothless in attack.
Yeah. I will defend unders. Unders are acceptable for Torino, Crystal Palace, and they used to be acceptable for Wolverhampton back when Connor Cody was playing for them. So those are the only three teams I'll advocate unders for. But I'm kind of with Nick on this one, honestly. It's more of like a pass game for me. I do like the value you just gave out there, Andrew, but for me, like if I'm taking a shot on this one, I'm just going to take like a random shot at something. So like PSG to score a penalty at +330. I don't know. PSG tends to get their fair share of penalties in the Champions League for whatever reason. They're at home. If they're not going to have Mbappe, they're going to need, maybe a little extra help to get that first goal. So it's a long shot, but I don't have a clear vision on anything else. So that's probably where I would end up for this match specifically.
Yeah, as you were talking through it, I just think the under 2.5 at +105 is like the safest. If I had to bet it, that's where I'm going. I hope this isn't as boring as we think it's going to be just from an aesthetic standpoint, but I want us to win bets and give out winning bets. So
that's why I kind of like the PSG in 3.5 because it gives you the insurance. That, oh my God, Real Sociedad scored, and then PSG beat them scored 2, and you're fine. Like I'm like that with Liverpool a lot, where it's like, oh, are they going to win this game 2-0? Like, okay, cool, I'll take Liverpool in under 3.5. Like they're +125 this weekend against Burnley.
So I'm sorry, you said PSG and under 3.5 was minus 120 or plus 120?
Oh, it's plus 125.
Yeah, I mean, all right. It's written down. It counts. Stamp it. That's the play. Once I type it, it's good to go. Cool. So that's going to wrap up this week's fixtures. The following week, teams have a little bit of extra time to prepare. So these lines are very, very, very early. Certainly, keep close to the pod here. We will update them if anything changes, but we are going to give out plays as the lines sit today. We have Inter Milan at home to Atletico Madrid. Inter is minus 110. Atletico plus 285. Atletico is one of those teams for me that I can't seem to make sense of ever. That's not just this year. That's not just the Champions League. That is going back like 4 or 5 years. They used to be an automatic under team. Like you'd get that grind out 1-0 win from Atletico. Terror ball. They're scoring a lot more goals this year, but they're giving up a lot more goals too. So they're like the enhanced wolves of La Liga, I guess, and the Champions League. Inter's just been on a roll. They've lost one game all season. Minus 110. They're at home. I think this is kind of a straightforward. I could totally see this game being a draw, by the way, but I think, if you're looking at a pick, it should start with Inter on the money line.
I like the value on Inter. Oh, go ahead.
I won't argue that. We have been talking about Inter and how they've been performing in Serie A lot this season. How they're clearly like just the best team on paper. They've got everything that they need to win the Scudetto this season. Minus 110 on the money line at home certainly makes a lot of sense. The team total is interesting to me. Their team total over 1.5 is plus 105. I think usually I would shy away from that against Atletico, but like you said, Nick, their defense hasn't been the same this season in seasons compared to seasons past. But I think more than anything, if I'm taking something in this one, I like both teams to score at minus 120. I don't think Inter keeps a clean sheet in this one. Atletico will be playing certainly a more attacking style than we're used to in Champions Leagues past from them. And so getting them both to score at minus 120, I think that's actually a decent line. And I could actually see this being a weird 1-1 where we've seen it time in the past where Inter get one goal and then they kind of take their foot off the gas. And then that kind of allows Atletico to get back into it.
I've watched a lot of Atleti of late. I've been betting on Atleti of late, and for a while there was really profitable, and then for some reason it's kind of fallen out from underneath me. I did after Atleti got through and rocked that group. I think they went undefeated. I got them plus 2,400 to win the tournament, which I took knowing, hey, if they get to the semis, I'm just cashing out on this. The one thing that's different about this Atleti team, it's as Nick mentioned, they're scoring goals. Like Morata and Griezmann are playing insane football. I think Griezmann's playing some of his best ball since the 2016 Euros, if I'm being totally honest. Like we've kind of seen him go France mode for Atleti every week. And Morata's kind of actually being that 40 million pounds, striker that, 5 different teams have paid for. But so like I said, I have a future on Atleti. I'm kind of thinking because Inter are minus 135 right now to advance, that's a good enough number for a team that was in the Champions League last year. They're out of the Italian Cup. They kind of have a nice, not a huge lead, but they have a little cushion in the Champions League. I think I'm going to hedge a little and take Inter to advance at minus 135. I just Atleti are in the semifinals of the Copa del Rey. They lost in the midweek. 1-0 at home to Athletic Bilbao, which means they now have to travel to Bilbao to turn that over.
Yeah.
So
and they're fighting for Champions League spot for next year, right? I mean, it's not a guarantee that they make top 3, top 4, whatever they need to make in Spain.
Right. I mean, right now your top 3 is your like confirmed top 3 is or top 4 is just Girona and Real Madrid. After that, you've got Barca, Athletic Bilbao, Atletico Madrid. All kind of fighting it out for those last 2 spots. Sociedad and Betis are hanging around and are being chippy. So I don't know if it's and look, like They have Morata, they have Griezmann, but there's a pretty heavy drop off after that. It's just Depay and Correa. They were trying to bring Moise Kean in, but he failed the medical. And so my concern for Atleti is not can they score goals. It's who are you bringing on to change the game if this goes to extra time in the second leg. And I don't love Depay or Correa going up against that back line for Inter personally. And you look at that's the one like Inter, I feel like the only team in Italy that actually has depth. So and the experience of going far in this tournament. So I think that's at minus 135. I think that's the only fair value of to advance that I've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. We haven't even talked about two advanced lines because most of them don't make sense, but it's down to minus 130 on DraftKings. I think that is a solid play where that takes kind of the unknown of this first leg away, right? I think over the course of 180 minutes or potentially more, the better, deeper, more experienced team gets it done. Scotty, I'm with you that both teams to score does kind of jump out. I think this is a game you could even sprinkle the draw. But if anybody wanted to take Inter money line at home, I wouldn't be upset.
I don't
with
think
them.
Inter lose at home. I'll say
Yeah.
that. I feel like I don't know if they have lost at home in Serie A this season. I think actually their only home loss is to Bologna in the Cup, and Sociedad went there and got a 0-0 draw in the Champions League. So,
Not to go off topic a little bit, but I was just curious. Inter obviously made it to the finals last year. Do you think this Atleti team is the best team they've played in the Champions League outside of that Manchester City team they faced in the finals? Because their run last year was pretty easy. They played Porto, then I think it was Benfica, and then
Yep.
obviously Milan. Do you think this Atleti team that they just got, in the round of 16 draw is better than either of those three clubs last season?
Possible.
yeah,
I could buy that.
I would say yes.
Like, I think if they pull out like a 2-3 goal aggregate win in this tie, they'll be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I think how this Inter team do depends on. I mean, what are Inter right now to win the whole thing? Not to get ahead of things.
Oh, we'll get there, but they're plus 1,800. Disrespectful, I think.
Interesting.
Compared to some of these other lines.
That is very disrespectful.
All right, we'll try our best to fast forward to get there. The other game here on Tuesday, to me, this is like the underrated matchup of the entire round. PSV taking on Dortmund. PSV opens up at home plus 105. Dortmund is plus 220. The draw is plus 270. PSV are absolutely steamrolling right now. They obviously did well to make it out of their group, but I think they have like one loss all season or two losses all season between league and the Champions League. This is a game where I think goals can be expected. PSV score a ton. Dortmund are always good for a goal or two. Unfortunately, that over 2.5 is minus 165. I really want to make a case for over 3.5 at plus 155, but I don't know that we get 4 goals in an opening round match. Would love you guys to talk me into it, talk me out of it. Tell me what else you're seeing. But man, PSV at home looks like a strong value.
It's funny, Nick, because you almost got to exactly what I was going to say is the pick of this match, which is the Asian line of over 3 at minus 105. I don't see how this game has fewer than 3 goals. I think it's more likely this game has 5 goals than this game has 2 goals.
I agree.
Can you
absolutely
parlay that? Can you parlay that with both teams to score to get it to a plus number? Will they let you do that with an Asian line? Because I mean, that's pretty much the plus money podcast bet of every weekend is both teams are scoring over 2.5. It's minus 120 on its own, which is probably playable for me.
Yep.
I also this is the America Bowl, by the way, between a little less so now that Gio Reyna's not there, but this is the matchup with the most Americans in it. So I want somebody had to say it.
Yeah, I like it.
Not that any of us are that hellbent on the U.S. men's national team, but yeah, I think this one's gonna be fun. I think this is if there is a tie that I will feel great about parlaying over 2.5 with something else going on that day. This is that game. Like whatever your best bet of the day is, you parlay that with over 2.5 in this game.
Yep. I agree.
I don't know, Nick.
Now
I know you're high on PSV, but
Yep.
the other line I'm looking at, Dortmund plus a quarter goal, is even money at plus 100. Do we really think that? I know PSV at home, but like, are we that certain that they're going to get a win in this one? Or to me, like, this one does kind of feel like a draw to me. Like, I could see this being a 2-2, like back and forth, really entertaining. Neither team comes out with an edge, and
Yeah.
it's all up to the second leg back at Dortmund type
No,
game.
I could absolutely see that. Dortmund is just another one of those funny teams for me. Like they let you down when you're expecting them to do something good. They pop up and score 2 or 3 goals when you think they're dead. So tricky matchup. I mean, you're not wrong. It's tough to bet against Dortmund. They tend to show up in this competition at least through this round or through this level. And PSV is kind of untested, right? When was the last time they were in a Champions League? I'm struggling to think. I mean, they've had a really nice resurgence, but not
Dortmund
really
haven't lost a game since December 9th. 3-2 loss to Leipzig. That's their last game that they've
all right.
lost.
There you go. The form is there. So that's not bad. Draw no bets plus 135, but you mentioned right plus quarter of a goal is what? Even money?
Even money plus 100.
I like it. I like it. All right, let's close it out with the Wednesday matches on the second week. Napoli at home to Barcelona, plus 160 for Napoli, plus 250 for the draw, plus 155 for Barcelona. Two of the biggest underachieving teams this year. Domestically, I would say underachieving in this competition, but they both made it out of their group and they're playing each other. So I don't know that I could say that. Napoli, I think, is getting a little more respect than they should be. They are at home, tough place to play. Barca also have kind of been all over the place. This game just screams chaos to me. I don't know. It could be a 2-0 victory for either team. It could be a 0-0 draw. It could be anything. I just have no clue.
Yeah, it screams like, to me, again, this is another game that I pass, but I watch, even though I don't have money on it, just to see the chaos and like the disaster unfold. And I think both teams, I think you can also classify as like managerless right now, right? They neither of them really have like their guy that's going to be moving forward. So like we don't really have anything to base like what how they're going to approach this game off of, right? We can't say like, oh, Barcelona's going to come out, try and attack and have 60% possession and bleed Napoli to death. And we're not going to be able to say like, yeah, Napoli's just going to sit back, absorb pressure, and try to counter. We just don't really know. I think the interesting thing, Osimhen should be back for this, right, Nick? This is far enough now away that he should be available for Napoli because this is a week from Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, provided he does not get hurt somehow, some way, or need rest or anything like that. Fair. It's a lot to ask over a game.
If you're really trying to, put money on this game to watch, then I think, again, that the over line for 2.5 is a little tough at minus 150, but over 3 is plus 110. If you want to be entertained by chaos and you want to have money on the game, you take an over 3 and just root for max chaos, I guess.
You know what I'd take in this game? Penalty to be awarded.
I like it.
You got the crazy pitch down there in Napoli. You have a Barca defense that's been up and down all over the place. It's that, or maybe like Lewandowski or Osimhen, if they're either over like plus. I mean, it'll be tough to get Lewandowski over plus 175, but if you can get either of them, goal scorer or whoever takes the penalties, goal scorer at a number better than plus 150, I think that's where I'd go. I just wish both of these teams could be eliminated, like together. Yeah, just like neither of you are winning this. Like, just take the prize money from advancing, split it, and go home and call it a day. Because I think both teams could just, use the money and just get rid of them. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Barca are a mess. Napoli,
yep,
just as much so.
The lines are not out yet, but this game to me screams corners. This game to me screams cards. I think depending on the markets for those two bets, this is something we come back to. Like, I'm not willing to bet on goals yet. I'm not willing to bet on a money line. I think you're right with that penalty to be awarded. That's right in line with cards. let's wait a week and see where the lines end up. Cool. So last matchup of the 8, we have Porto at home to Arsenal. Arsenal's a big favorite, minus 115. Porto plus 310. The draw is plus 250. Guys, Scotty and I are terrible with Portuguese teams. I think we're especially terrible with Porto.
It's also true.
So, Andrew, we are going to lean on you to give us a winner in this one. I think Arsenal are the better team. I think minus 115 is obviously a playable number if you like them. But are they getting a little bit too much respect to go to Portugal and walk out of there with a win?
I think so. Also, I saw a TikTok about this, so obviously it's true. It's incredibly cheap to go to matches at Porto. I think their last Champions League match, they sold tickets for like £40. So, Portugal is a hop, skip, and a jump from the East Coast. So if you're looking for a place to go see Champions League or on the cheaper end, Porto is the way to go. I'm trying to do that next season. But Look, I know Arsenal beat Liverpool this weekend, and I know they were the better team, but I still think they're frauds. Like I think they're in a similar place to where Liverpool were that when they won that first trophy under Klopp, but they spent way more money and their fans are being way more aggressive about it than Liverpool fans were. I think the best thing that Arsenal could hope for this season is losing in a Champions League final. And the irony is that Porto were a team that Liverpool blew right past in both of those runs to Champions League finals. The fact that it's a home game for Porto does give me some, and also with Arsenal's own history against Portuguese teams in European competition, let's not forget that they lost to Sporting last year in the Europa League. I don't hate at plus 110, both teams scoring over 2.5. I think a home cooking for Porto, maybe they get on the board. I do think Arsenal handle business, but the question is, what are they doing this weekend, and what are they doing the weekends leading up to this? Because we know Arteta does not rotate his boys. Saka is going to play every minute of soccer between now and then. Martinelli, who seems to have found form, is going to play every minute of soccer between now and then, and could certainly play himself in and out of form. I know they're very close to getting Thomas Partey back. Yes, I think Arsenal. I think I'm getting them at minus 110 right here on FanDuel. Money line. No, it is minus 115, but still, if that number at minus 115, I think that's a good enough number for Arsenal. They haven't reached the like number, the threshold of like Liverpool or Manchester City, where if they're a plus number, you have to take them. They're getting close, but I just don't trust Arsenal in huge moments yet, especially on the road yet so far. So I would kind of hedge with both teams to score and over 2.5.
I'm going to caveat everything I'm about to say with reminding everyone what Nick said about our ability to read Portuguese teams and that we're bad at it. So you should listen to Andrew.
Yes.
However, I am on the podcast and I have to give my opinion. And so my opinion in this case is that I think, similar to what Andrew's saying, I'd like double chance for Porto here at home in the opening leg, with I think Arsenal getting caught off guard a little bit. Like that always happens in a round of 16. We haven't really found a team yet where we say like, hey, this is a game where like the favorite's going to get caught off guard going on the road. And there's lots of favorites going on the road in this round of 16. I think this is where you take the chance at minus 105. I think Porto can absolutely catch Arsenal sleeping a little bit, force Arsenal to come and have to win their home leg at the Emirates. With that said, Porto this year have only allowed 13 goals in the league in 20 matches. Their defense has been their stalwart. At the same time, they've also only scored 30 goals in the league. So I'm looking at the under also at 2.5. It's minus 120. I don't hate that. If you have a home team that is the underdog and their calling card is defense in the Champions League, you can bet it's going to be let's soak up the pressure and force Arsenal to break us down. And Andrew, how many times have we watched Arsenal this year where they've just slept walk through the first 70 minutes of a Premier League match against a Wolverhampton or a Crystal Palace and then have to score like 1 or 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to get the win? So I can see that trend kind of continuing here. So I love the double chance. I like the under 2.5.
I'm kind of with you. I think we've identified 2 or 3 teams that you could take a stab with a double chance. This, I'm thinking back. Didn't Porto have 0 goals in their knockout loss last year, like over 2 legs?
Against Inter?
right? Weren't they goalless in both of those games, or maybe one goal throughout 2 games? Yeah. So is Arsenal scoring 3 in this first one? I don't know. Like the under does kind of seem like it's there. It almost seems a little too good to be true right now. So conflicting opinions here, but this is a 5-0 Arsenal win is what we're saying pretty much.
That's what Liverpool did to Porto once. I think they beat them 4-0, 5-0, and 6-0 in multiple head-to-heads. So yeah, I don't think these Porto teams are that Porto team, unfortunately. But I also don't think this Liverpool is this Arsenal team is that Liverpool team.
Yeah, fair.
They did dog Crystal Palace a couple weeks ago, which Liverpool never seemed to do. But I don't know. I'm not. It's gonna have to take Arsenal actually winning a trophy for me to believe in them, and also, I don't know if that's fair.
The line is not out yet, but the absolute lock of this match is going to be Pepe to get a yellow card or a booking. 40 years old. That's his calling card in the Champions League. If that number is plus money at all, that'd be incredible. But
it'll probably be around minus 110. Like he's been around that number.
Yeah.
I'm with you. All right, so that is every single game. Hopefully you found a little bit of enjoyment there listening to us. You found a play that you like. If there's something else you like, of course, please share it with us. And now we are going to try to do our very best work. There are 16 teams remaining. We're going to try to give you the winner. I think traditionally over 2 years, it's just been Scotty and I. So we've given out like 2 futures picks, one like the nice long shot, one the one that we think is going to win. We've been pretty successful. We're going to give out more than that because Andrew is here with us and he's really smart. But let me just run everybody through. Let's run you through the odds quickly before we just bounce around with our thoughts. I'm going in numerical order. Man City favorites plus 200, Bayern next plus 400, Arsenal plus 550, Madrid plus 550, and then you get into the fun. PSG at plus 1400, Barca plus 1600, Inter plus 1800, Atletico is plus 2200, Dortmund plus 2500, and then there's 7 teams that I don't think can do anything. Napoli, Sociedad, Leipzig, Porto, PSV, Lazio, Copenhagen, all plus 4,000 or more. I guess before we dive into it, does anybody have a case for any of those bottom teams at all?
I have none. Nobody in the bottom 8, I think, has a chance.
Do you take PSV plus 8,500 just on the pure chance that they get past Dortmund, and then you could maybe cash it out at a reasonable number? Like, is that something you could?
I guess we should caveat it now, right? Because that's a great point. Books are very different. Please, check the books that you have, but some are very liberal with these cash out offers compared to others. But I'm looking at DraftKings; they're plus 10,000. I mean, if you think they're making it out of this round, you're more than doubling your money after 2 games. So I don't think that's a bad play. I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, I'm getting it at plus 8,500 on FanDuel, and they're usually better at cash outs than DraftKings for me personally in New York. But
yeah, there you go. I mean, I guess by that logic, you could do the same with Dortmund, right? They're plus 2,500. I don't know.
They're 35. They're plus 35 here in New York.
Yeah. Well, shop around. First of all, I think we should start with that. As we like to say on the show, if you're in a state with multiple sports books, or if you're offshore, whatever you're doing, definitely shop around. These lines vary widely. So you're talking about 1,000 difference right there just by looking at a different book. So that's an interesting tie, right? One of those teams has to make it through. They're both 4 digits or more after that plus sign. That's not a bad way to try to make a little money if you believe in Dortmund or PSV.
PSV to advance, by the way, is plus 125. So you'd have to hope that those lines drop to like plus 4,000 or shorter in order to kind of get that same value. And my concern would be if they draw City in the next round, are those numbers really going to drop that much lower?
That's fair. That's very fair. I think your like best hope is that they somehow draw like.
You need another upset, really.
You need like a Barcelona. They got to, Barcelona or Napoli, somebody like that, somebody they could realistically beat.
Yep.
Okay. So we just made a case for none of those teams in the bottom 8. I think I don't know. I think everybody will agree that nobody's taking Man City at plus 200. You could find a plus 200 bet on Manchester City in any given game if you're a little bit creative. We don't lock up future money for numbers that short. But we have Bayern, Arsenal, Madrid all in that same plus 400, plus 500 area. Do we have a pick out of those three that can win this Champions League?
The team of the pod has been Real Madrid at plus 550. We've cashed that before. I think when we cashed that, it was plus 900. Nick, when we did that,
it was plus 1600, I think, or something. I think we placed like multiple futures, if I'm not mistaken. Like we had them at the beginning of the round of 16, and then they were still like plus 900 going into the semifinals or something like that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit shorter on odds this time, but of the teams that you just mentioned between Bayern, Arsenal, and Real, we don't love Arsenal based off of what we just discussed. I agree with what Andrew said. I think they're still a little bit fraudulent in terms of where they are at the top of the the leagues. Bayern is interesting, but they do tend to put up some duds in the Champions League. Like they're kind of like similar to where City were last year, where like I just don't fully trust them to put together a consistent run. And then that leaves you with Real Madrid. So I think of those three, I would go Real, but I don't know. It's not the same juice that we're used to getting.
I have a ticket on Real Madrid at plus 9 at the beginning of the season. I thought I got it right before what I thought was going to happen with Mbappe was where he was going to sign, and then he didn't. But Real Madrid are just, you can never count them out. So I love that at the value. Yeah, I think they're the only team. I mean, like they just come back all the time, and you like. I know you don't want to put yourselves like that in the Champions League, and I know, they're light at the back because it's Kepa, it's not Courtois, and there's been injuries in the defense. But Man City aren't playing at the same level that they were last year. I don't trust Bayern, and nobody else really has in my opinion, the experience that is capable of making a run in this Champions League. And like, I got it at plus 9. If they make it to the final, I might just cash out and call it a day. But yeah, of those teams, I think the only one to go to is Real Madrid, and I'm seeing them plus 600 on FanDuel. So they're definitely available at a better number if you shop around a little.
Absolutely. Stamp it. Team of the pod. 3 years in a row, we are going to back Real Madrid to win the Champions League. Plus 600. That sounds better than plus 550. And then let's play around here with a long shot. We got a couple of teams remaining. PSG plus 1400, Barca plus 1600, Inter plus 1800, Atletico plus 2200. Obviously, one of Inter or Atletico will be eliminated after this round. I can potentially make a case for any of them. I could certainly talk you out of any of them, but Inter Milan at plus 1800, team that has lost, I think, twice in all competitions all season, made the final last year. I just think that's a little too good of a number to not take a chance with. I'm not necessarily saying they win it, but I think they are better than Barca this year, better than PSG this year, and I expect them to get through Atletico. So I think that plus 1800 is a really, really, really strong number for Inter.
I think that's the one where if you want to do the let's like invest and then cash out at a later round, I think Inter at plus 1600 are the ones to do it, because they certainly can make a run to the semis again, in which case you're probably going to be able to cash it out for 2 or 3x what you put in. But at the same time, you could look at the draw, and if at that point, maybe City has dropped out, and I just mentioned Bayern, how they tend to have their hiccups in Champions League, and you might even want to just hold on to it. And who knows, maybe you get lucky and you get a final between Real and Inter, and you're good either way.
Yeah, I would go with Inter as well. And one thing that I did just see on FanDuel, they have to reach the final, and they have Inter to reach the final at plus 1100. So I don't know if that helps or hurts, but that is interesting value. Again, they're out of the Coppa Italia. They just have Serie A to focus on. I'm not saying they have Serie A locked up, but they've handled every challenge that's been presented them. Like I said, I think maybe it's just instead of hedging and taking Inter to win instead of hedging and taking Inter to win the tie, maybe I hedge and just take Inter to win the whole thing and pray that they don't run into a buzzsaw of Manchester City in the next round. But they have depth. Like they have the ability to rotate. Lautaro has been playing his best
Lights
ball.
out.
Marcus Thuram has been excellent for them. I don't think I don't think there's a crazy gulf between them and Manchester City, and I don't know, this Inter team is very good. So at plus 1,800, I do love the value there.
Love when the podcast is in agreement. Anything else we want to look at with futures here? I mean, I think we gave out 2 consensus plays here. Anything else? Do we take a stab somewhere else? Is there anything else worth looking at? Or if you like any of these super long shots, do you just reset after this round and, there'll still be a lot of value there? I think that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point.
Yeah, if you like any of the long shots, you can probably get them pretty good to advance out of this round. And from there, make your next call, right? So if you're looking at the Real Sociedads or Leipzigs, for example, to advance, you're going to get them at plus 200 or better. So I would probably go with that to start and then, reassess when you get to the quarterfinals.
I do want to point out Europa League, Leverkusen are still plus 550 to win the tournament. They haven't lost a game yet in all comps. So I know that's the Thursday tournament. I have a ticket on them at plus 1,000 right now, which you could have gotten much earlier in the season. But yeah, we'll see what happens with them.
Hell yeah. Love it. And good luck with that. And Andrew, dude, thank you so much for joining us. Please, I mean, I'm hopeful at this point our listeners are familiar with you, but if they're not, tell them where to find you, what you guys are doing. Give them the scoop.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Andrew Passaro, and you can follow the podcast at the Plus Money Pod. We drop usually every Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. 15 minutes, our best bets for the weekend. Sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's a little. Nick has jumped on a bunch. It's pretty fun, and I love a parlay. I love an over, and I love both teams to score. Yeah, we're just put us at time and a half and listen to us while you're in the line to get your coffee. And I'm always the other thing that I love betting, and I love shot prop parlays. So if that is your speed, I'm your guy.
Yeah, this dude routinely runs out like 30 or more shots in the game, and I'm just like, well, what game are you watching? And then all of a sudden I look at the stats after the fact, and there's 35, 38 shots. I'm like, okay, spot on. Yep. Again, here I was doubting you. So
we're trying.
Thank you again for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. We will be back with you after this round to do it all over again. Catch you guys next week.